years old, applying to the PROS program, Top Gun PROS program in 1989. You could not get into a PROS program without a residency. That was unheard of. You used to go out 5 years and then you come back and do the PROS. So all the people at the PROS program, I was 26. They were 30, 34, 35, 36 years old. They already went out in dentistry. They came back for PROS.
Yeah,
so
I think you were the youngest graduate in what, 91 that ever graduated from that program. Is that correct? Did I get that fact right?
Yes, 28 years old as a prosthodontist in 1991.
That's crazy.
But here's again the same. No, but wait, I got to tell you what happened because this is a great story. The same thing happened to me in PROS residency. The first 6 months, I wasn't doing good. Again, I was out of my league again. You know, Columbia was an Ivy League school. I was out of my league. I went from Queens College to an Ivy League school. There's no way I was going to make it. And now I'm going from dental school being the top 10% of my class with no experience because everybody else had 5 years, 10 years experience. And I'm going into a PROS program. Again, I was way out of my league. So the first 6 months, I'm on probation already. They wanted to kick me out again.
Why?
Well, not because I wasn't a good dentist, because I wasn't following protocol. I wasn't mature enough to follow the protocol. I was doing my own thing in my own way, and that just doesn't work. This is like the military. You got to be on point every day, on time, and I wasn't doing that. So they put me on probation. So again, more adversity. I felt that they hated me at that program. I felt that I was never going to win. I felt I wanted to quit again. And again, I had some really good people hovering over me, say, listen, you got great hands. You're a good dentist. You're a good person. You just got to get your stuff together. You got to get your shit together and clean up your act.
Yeah. And
I'm like, okay. And they guided me through the first year. Now, here's again the great point of that. During the summer, again, I changed my brain. I had to change. Change is very difficult for most people.
Yep.
Saying you're doing this for 10 years, you're doing dentistry for 10 years, you're doing any profession for 10 years, and then somebody comes along and says, well, you got to really change to be better. You're like, I don't want to do that. It's too comfortable, right? So what happened was I got some great people. They locked me down. And once I changed and I accepted the change, that they were smarter than me, because we all think we're smarter than everybody else. But once you humble yourself to say, hey, you know what? These guys know. Let me just trust what they tell me. I'll do everything you guys tell me. I followed every direction. Not only did I graduate with some really great prosthodontists, but I did over 480 units in 2 years. 480 units.
For those of you who are non-dentists, that's a shitload. Okay,
it's a lot of
just tell the people what the average student does.
The average PROS resident in 3 years today will probably do 100.
Yeah.
All right, I did 400 units in 2 years. And my favorite thing, and I still save it till today, my director, his name was Noah Wilkie. He was from the Navy, brilliant guy, but you know, a real hard ass, you know, and thank God for that. And he wrote me at the end of that graduation, he said, Dr. Dean, you're a real turnaround. He goes, I'm really proud of you. And not only I felt emotional that I've achieved this level for this man to say, you've really turned around.
Got the recognition.
Sam passed away about 5 years ago. Yeah, it was a little like, hey man, you did okay. And then I had another great 3 or 4 mentors through that time, my first 5 years out, that really honed me even more for professionalism and doing great dentistry and having a good business. There's a business part of dentistry that most doctors now, they don't get for at least 5-10 years out. And you know what? So if you look at the picture of that, it's adversity, overcoming it, adversity again, overcoming it, and then really getting on the right path. And that's really why I teach. Daria, that's really why I teach, because I know in every one of my doctor students, I know there's one of me that had a little adversity, and I'm going to get him out of that, and I'm going to make him grow. And that's what really drives me. That drives me every day. Every day.
So if you look at yourself then and you look at yourself now, this is what, 90s, we're talking about 30 years. Jesus Christ. So after 30 years, right? I mean, we all, you explained very well, you know, what your drive was then, and you saw that second chance. And once you had that second chance, you felt you don't want to drop the ball then. How do you feel your motivation has changed in these past 30 years? Your drive, what's your North Star now? I mean, for a lot of the young listeners, a lot of them, and I remember myself when I started school, I thought, I want to get the degree so I can start work and I can start making money. And I thought that's going to bring me happiness. And every time I achieved the milestone, the happiness lasted for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. And then I was like, well, now what? So then we're constantly chasing something. So what is your North Star today? What's Dean Vafiadis looking forward today after 30 years of experience and still going strong?
I don't want to talk about today right now. Let me just talk about to the young dentists, because that's really who I like to teach. Let's talk about the dentists who are out in the residency programs for the first 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, those dentists. What's your North Star? Listen, you got to pay your bills. You got to start your family. You want to be a good dentist. You want to take some courses. You got to get a right mentor. So that's what I would tell any young dentist right now. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at other people around the country. Our FMR course, that NYU FMR course, we nurture these doctors, and they're 5 years out, 6 years out. We're doing a lot of time with mentoring. So mentoring is a big part of being successful later on. Getting on the right. I see a lot of young dentists, 5 years, they're doing this kind of dentistry, and then they wake up and they're like, this is depressing. Right? Okay, I'm making $5,000 a week, but I'm not happy. I'm doing bad dentistry. I'm not happy with myself. The next 10 years, 10 to 20 years, is you kind of start figuring out what you like and figuring out what you're good at. Right? The first 10 years, you're trying to figure out how to do it. This next 10 years, you're trying to figure out how to do it really right and what you really like. And the last 10 years of my life have been knowing what not to do and really focusing on education for me. So my North Star right now is digital technology, expanding the world. Like, I came up with this crazy idea yesterday because I always look at the current. Where are we right now? I think about the future, but I always say, where are we right now? We're in a coronavirus situation where when I go back to work, I'm putting myself in the patient's perspective. They're going to say to me, Dr. Dean, what have you done differently now than we did before? And I'm going to say 3 things. I got a vacuum suction over aerosol on top of you when I'm working. So I have that machine that I have to go buy. We're looking around for that. So when they're laying back, they have a suction machine that's taking out the aerosol. They feel safer. I want to have a suction machine that has a retractor and has some kind of suction inside. I want to do everything I can for my staff to protect them with shields. Yep. So when they walk in, they're going to say, wow, already this guy's changed. He's changed the norm. And that's okay to protect them. But I want to say something to all the listeners out there, dentists or non-dentists. You're going to have to go get tested at some point, whether it's testing for antibodies or testing for COVID-19. Do you want to go to your doctor's office when there's 20 other people in the room? Do you want to go to the hospital where it's already infected? Do you want to go to CVS or Walmart to get tested? Or you want to go to your dental office and get tested? Where do you want to get tested?
Well, I rather not go to the hospital. One of the
why
things.
Shouldn't we be the ones? Why shouldn't we be the ones where the people are coming safe because they trust us in a closed environment and get tested, where there's not 20 people in the waiting room? So you got to think about that. And I emailed the dean of NYU. I emailed the mayor. I emailed the governors. I said, please take a look at this. It shouldn't be just the targets.
Abbott Labs has come out with the testing. The hospital that I'm currently working at, Virginia Hospital Center, we have now the Abbott Labs testing kit. So within 45 minutes, we can test not only patients but also all healthcare providers that are symptomatic are being tested. And I don't know the price of that machine. It's like a little machine, looks like a cashier. You could put in your office and test, but this is just short-term stuff. I mean, this thing is going to be over by the end of the year, just like the swine flu went away.
Well,
and all
HIV,
the other SARS virus.
When I graduated, it was HIV. Right. It was a big epidemic at that point.
Right. I mean, when I was a resident in 2003, and I was in Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County back then was the only county in the United States where HIV cases were still on the uprise. And so when we treated patients, we assumed everyone to have HIV. And one of our first lectures when we got there was about HIV. And the infectious disease professor says, statistically about 50% of your patients are HIV positive, and that's in South Beach. And so you got to assume we're not going to test them all because you can't do that. Logistically, it's not possible. So you're just going to treat everyone as if they had HIV positive. So for me personally, it was a great training to in infectious disease and care to protect not only myself, but also other patients from contracting through cross-contamination. So we kind of live in a different era now. It's just a different virus, and the threat is different. I mean, it's not as lethal as people think. I mean, the true mortality rate of COVID-19 is actually 1 to less than 1%. And several studies now, together with studies coming out of Germany and where I actually grew up, and they actually are consistent with the latest US studies. But, you know, I don't want to talk about COVID-19. People have, you know, you turn on the news, you hear COVID-19. I want to inspire our audience. I want you, you know, because here we are in a very difficult, precarious situation. Is probably the greatest pandemic in human history. And, and you are out there. I mean, so I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people actually ask me, and they're just scared. So a lot of people are scared. They're deers in the headlight. They're great professionals, but they're just sitting there in their homes and just waiting for this storm to go to be over, and are literally scared. And then others, they say, okay, I have so much time now. What can I do? Can I innovate? Can I educate? Can I reach out? Can I think outside of the box? And to me, I mean, what, you're doing like 3 continuing education courses a week?
I mean, that's
for those of you that don't know what it entails, that's a lot of work because not only you got to prepare for that, but then afterwards you have to answer hundreds of questions. And the beauty of this method is that you learn a lot by answering other people's questions, because when someone asks you a question, you're going to start thinking. And a lot of these questions that you might have not thought of yourself, and you're like, that's a great question. Let me actually look into it. And that's how great ideas come out. But, you know, so I just want to give you a lot of credit for not just sitting there and just looking scared and being scared and waiting for this to be over, but just continuing what you're doing. And that's, to me, inspiring. And that's what I do every day now. I mean, we just talked in the beginning. I'm like, I'm busier than I was before I went to work, because I just feel like I have to utilize this time. And I want to thank you for that. But again, to my original question, and you kind of alluded to it, especially the young doctors out there, you described a lot of tools by which they can achieve their goals and they can go towards their North Star. But in my mind, what I see, what your true North Star is just what you said in your mission statement, is to change patients' lives. Because all that technology, we're not inventing or coming up with technology for the heck of it, just because we said, hey, we got a great tool. We do it to do something great with it. And for a lot of these young doctors out there, they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. So if you don't have a purpose, without a purpose, it's very hard to achieve a goal that's so far out. For example, if I tell you, hey, Dean, let's go hiking, and you ask me where are we going, and I'm like, I don't know, we're just going to hike. Well, you want to know where we're heading. I mean, are we going to cross that mountain, or
that's what we do. You know, with FMR, one of the things we do with FMR at NYU, and you can email me, drdean17@gmail.com for more information on FMR. It's that kind of a platform. It's a dental mentoring leadership club, right? So we want to get these doctors on the right path with education, with camaraderie, having a vision of where we're going. Having a vision, they feel they're part of a group where the residents are connecting with the 5 years out, the 5 years out are connecting with the 10 years out, the 10 years out are connecting with the 20 years out, the 20 years out are connecting with the retired dentist. And we're giving them some kind of path to kind of go on. And they know we got their back, right? That's an important part of education, is knowing that they have their back.
That is the best thing. That is the best thing you could have said.
They got to feel like they have their back. And you said something, you mentioned something about, dedicated four presentations a week. Remember, this is not a new, most guys are going on with Instagram and this is their first time talking. Yeah. They don't really know how to answer questions. I've been teaching for 25 years. I know what doesn't work. I know what works. I can answer the questions realistically. I can tell them, hey, that's a good question. There's really no answer to that after 30 years. And I think they'll trust me. Or here's the answer to this question. Here's the answer to this question. And I like to give them percentages. Sometimes they'll say, how do I do this kind of case? And I'll say, well, you're only going to have to worry about that 5% of the time because that's not your mainstream kind of dentistry. So having that 25 years, 30 years of experience of education, listen, I have over 200 hours of education. I can pick a topic and I can sit down and talk about it, and I have the slides to show about it. So it's a little bit different for me because I've come to this from a long standpoint of education. So when you say, wow, you're doing 4 a week, it's kind of not that hard for me because I have it already. I just pick out from I have lectures from 2001 that I can bring out in preparation. I can bring out things about post and non-vital teeth. I could talk about facial aesthetics that I've been looking at for 25 years, how it's changed. The cephalometric x-rays. This is one thing that really bothers me. You want to know what really bothers me? Smile Direct Club and Invisalign educates their dentists with no cephalometric analysis. Did you know this?
So how do they do that?
They do it with a computer. They put it together with absolutely no cephalometric understanding of that. The orthodontists that do Invisalign, they know that stuff. It's normal to them. But when you come out of dental school 5 years out and you say, I want to do Invisalign, you have no concept of the cephalometric x-rays of that person. You're not even taking it. Smile Direct Club? Seriously? So a patient's going to take an impression, send it to the computer. They're going to put it in some trays and go ahead and, totally put your teeth in position. We have 5 patients right now between the ages of 25 and 45 whose lower teeth are moving. They're losing their lower teeth. And the parents are calling me saying, Dr. Dean, what do I do with my kid? He did Invisalign over the internet and his teeth are moving and they're bleeding. I mean, think about it. This is insanity.
By the way, people are saying they can't hear you on Instagram. So they say they can't hear you on there.
Oh, well, do I have to, can you check that now? Does that sound better?
All right. They say no audio on Dr. Dean's end. You might have to increase the volume a little bit. All right, guys, can you hear him now?
Try that. Is that working better now? Hello? Anybody?
Let me see.
Is that working better still now? All right,
they said for the past 10 minutes, still no.
Oh, wow. That's not good. Hold on. Let me try to get out.
Nope. They say no.
Hold on. Let me try again.
All right. He's coming back, guys. All right. Let's get you back in here. All right.
Is that better?
Hold on. This thing's have a lag.
Yeah, it's a little bit of lag.
It was disconnected. Yeah. So someone said it was disconnected.
Can you hear me now? Everybody can hear me now? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
All right. They say. All right. Hello.
Testing can you hear us? Testing 1 2 on Instagram.
Mitra, can you hear us? Dr. Ariani, can you guys hear us? Just give us some feedback.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Oh yeah, they said yes. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. We're good.
Perfect. All righty.
All right. Success.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. Sorry you missed those great points.
Yeah, you can. By the way, you guys can listen to the entire podcast later on the Daria Hamrah podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and all the other outlets. Just Google the Daria Hamrah podcast, and I'll send you the links to. And I'll also put it on my YouTube channel, so you guys can watch that. I'm recording this right now on Zoom. So if you missed it because you said a lot of cool stuff, you missed it. Yeah. So again, so there's a lot of different things that happen every year. Across all professions. It's really important for people to, pick what's most effective and and actually most reliable. And so if someone goes, as a patient, goes to one of these places where they don't know what they're doing, eventually they're going to have a problem, and eventually they're going to come and find you. And I see it in my profession. I mean, people are doing dental implants. They have no business in doing that. And that's purely
Right.
Financially motivated, obviously, like a corporate type of mentality. But, you know, I mean, patients, I tell my patients, I'm like, you're your own best advocate. Before you jump into something, you've got to do your research. I mean, you got to, I mean, listen, we're here in America. There's no shortage of specialists. There's no shortage of clinicians, of actual people that you can go talk to. A lot of these companies that you mentioned, you actually never meet a doctor. So as a patient,
right.
if you have a treatment done and you never meet a doctor, I mean, listen, it's like the guy that, you know, you talk to them about social distancing and they go having parties. I'm
right.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, they're not getting it. Just not getting it.
I am sorry. If you're not getting it,
yeah.
I mean, don't complain when things go south.
Listen, they value themselves, the small direct clubs and that stuff. They're valuing themselves on marketing. People are not really looking into it. Hey, I could save $1,000. I save $2,000. I'll just do an online, you know, Invisalign. Maybe it'll work for 50% of people, but I'm seeing a lot of people coming back with a lot of problems. It's going to be a lawsuit issue at some point. You know, it doesn't work well. You can't do dentistry unsupervised. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
So let me ask you, you know, it seems to me it's like a funny question to ask you, but what's the difference between work and fun for you? I mean, I feel like
we're getting no audio again. Hold on. Can you try that again? Is that working now? We can't hear him again.
Are you getting a phone call? Is that what's happening? Are people?
No, I'm not getting a phone call. It just keeps running out. Can you hear me? Daria, you can hear me because it's from the other side, right?
Yeah, I can hear you through Zoom.
Unless it's the volume. Do you think it could be the volume? Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
It could be the volume, but yeah.
Check
just
1
put
2.
Like to minimal, but a little high, like 10%.
Check 1 2.
Right.
No, we cannot hear. So let me get out. Let me get out.
We're working on it, guys. Just be patient. I hope you don't have any place to go right now. All right.
Hold on. See. Try again. Send request.
There you go. So something is happening that you get, your voice kind of gets disconnected.
Can you hear me now?
All right. You're connecting. Hold on.
I can hear it. Can you hear it now? Ellen? Can you hear it now, Armin?
There you go.
Is that better? Let me see if I can do, let me do one thing. Hold on 1 second. I have an idea.
Sure.
Hold on.
So again, waiting for Dean to come back. Again, for many of you that want to be successful, one of the things that works out for me is always to remind myself why I'm doing what I'm doing. And when you do that, you know, your brain will just take you there. You don't have to figure things out. Your brain will automatically figure things out for you. And it just works. I mean, you don't have to juggle and hustle. You know, a lot of us do things because we feel it's our profession. And
can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yep. I can hear you now very well.
Everybody good now?
Yep. Can you hear him now, guys?
Check.
Yeah,
1 2.
very well.
Check 1 2.
Ellen says we can hear very well.
1 2.
Nice and clear. Thank you.
Okay, good.
All right, keep telling us, okay?
Listen,
so what you do different?
New ideas. That's a new idea. I just took the microphone out of there, so it's coming out of here. It's much cleaner now.
All right, there you go. All right.
Okay, so back to normal.
You put your headphone into your phone?
Yeah.
and the Zoom is picking up
This
your
way,
voice.
this way you can't hear me. This way you can't hear me. You were getting confused when I was turning the volume down. You couldn't hear me.
Perfect. Okay,
all right,
awesome.
Back to normal.
All right. Some people, all right, let's go. So yeah.
What are y'all talking about? I'm talking about a lot of crazy stuff.
What are y'all talking about? All right. Well, if you listen, then you'll figure out what we're talking about. All right.
We're talking about life. We're talking about dentistry. We're talking about motivation, talking about getting on the right path through this crazy time. We're talking about motivating each other through education, through posting media, through Zoom. We're talking about changing. This is a change in our lives. So how you handle this change, I'm used to adversity. I'm used to things going wrong, and then I make it right. Most people are in a very comfortable zone, and they get hit with problems, and they don't know how to handle it. We're here for you. I'm here for the young dentists. I'm here for the dentists who've been practicing for a long time to tell you, first of all, it's going to get better. Can't get worse. Got to get better. Number two, it's really a good financial time. If you can buy the Dow right now, the stocks right now, everything's depressed. You got to buy it now. It's going to get better if you have extra money. If you don't have extra money, you got to think about what's going to happen when we get out of here. We got to be positive to help our patients change. You want to be the best friend to your patient. You want to be the best friend to you're a surgeon. You want to be the best surgeon to your GP. It's all about right now, relationships and customer service. That's what we're in right now. Who has the better connection of people skills to help people when people are down, to help them get back up with the resources that they have. If you don't have resources, look for somebody who can help you. If you want to know dentistry, hey, you can just join us whenever we go online and you will learn something. It'll get your mind off of it. You can take some notes. It'll start making your brain work in a different way. So I think that's the reality of what we're going through right now. And I'm pumped up because I know I have information that I can share to my doctors and I can share to people. So anybody needs that motivation. We call that the Dr. Dean shot. You give you a shot and you get pumped up and you get motivated.
I like that.
And then you come out of it. All right. Well, so all my doctors know that. I pump them up every time I see them.
I mean, you're giving some great advice there. And a lot of times, for people to execute on this great advice, it's not about hearing the advice. It's about not being afraid of doing it. I mean, you teach for 25 years. What percentage of your students that you've ever taught, you feel that actually execute and apply what you've taught them? Give me a percentage. Give me a percentage of.
I'll give you a great percentage because I have the data on that. I keep data all the time. Data is very, very important to me. I'm a mathematician. If I teach 100 doctors at FMR, and I'm talking about concentrated effort of education, that's 100 doctors that I'm in contact with for a year, 2 to 3 years. I would say 20% of them rise to the top. 20% of them really get amazing. I would say 50% of them change a little bit, and I would say the other 50% kind of stay the same and implement a little bit because it's just not.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why?
It's got to be in here. It's got to be in here.
I'll tell you
Here's
what
happened today.
I'll tell you what it is.
Well, you tell me what it is, and I'll tell you what it is.
I'll tell you what it is. It's fear of failure.
That could be a part of it. I don't think that's the whole thing.
It's fear of failure.
I don't think it's the whole thing.
You give someone a great tool and tell them to use it. If they're scared to use it because they're scared to break something with it, they're scared that they're not going to be as good as you. They're scared that someone is going to make fun of them.
That's not all of them.
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them. I'm talking about the ones that don't even apply the knowledge that they acquired.
Daria, one thing I learned, you can give people $1 million. They'll screw it up. Okay? So you got to think of it like this. I'm giving you $1 million of education. I know it's worth it. I know it because I do it every day of my life. I started with nothing. Remember. Well, hold on. Let me get to that. It's philosophical. But let me just say something. I came with nothing. My parents had zero. Right? I started my first practice in 1991. I had 1 patient. So everything we have now, we have over 4,200 patients. Yeah. I worked it. So I know the hard work of climbing the mountain. I know the hard work. It's not like I got it here and I climbed a little bit. I've climbed it from the bottom, so I really know.
Understood.
Let's be really honest about it. There's some people, they have it inside them. They want to be the best, okay? And they go about it their own way. We're giving them the tools to become great, whether it's dentistry, medicine, stocks, carpentry, mechanics, whatever it is. The same human nature is human nature. You give them the tools to succeed, 20% of them will latch onto it and grow and become amazing, and I love that. The other 25%, they're going to get a little bit of it, and they'll change a little bit. The ones that I think it's about 30, 40% that just can't make a change. It's not that they don't want to. They kind of want to. They're afraid. There's a fear factor. There's a genetic component. There's a determination. They have tons of money. They don't really want to do it. There's no motivation for them. They want to just try to chase state chill. And I don't judge them. Please understand something. We don't judge them. We just tell them, here's the information.
Sure.
What are you going to do with it? I had a great opportunity. I had 14 doctors from 1990 to 1992 to kind of see. So I was a sponge. I'm crazy. I admit I'm a little neurotic at some points, but that's who I am. I don't want to stay like this. I know everybody's fearful. They're scared. Yes, it's a very tough time. Why am I so positive? I have absolutely no income right now. Zero. I have children and one mortgage to pay. Why am I so positive? Because I know what's coming down the pipe. I know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 months. And I can share that with anybody. Why do I know? Because I've been through other adversities. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know human nature after 30 years, what they're going to do. They're not going to come right back to my practice, but they're not going to leave my practice. Yeah. Your patients are not leaving your practice. I can guarantee you that right now. They're going to just take a little longer time to get there. But they're not leaving you. The last thing they're going to do is leave their dentist and go to another dentist. That's never going to happen, right? So I know my patients are mine. It's just getting through this motion. So I got 2 months of doing nothing. How can I become productive? New ideas. Use this time for my family. I'm never going to get this time with my kids. Yeah. So I'm cooking for my kids every night. So I got to take the positive out of the negative and make it positive. That's just who I am. And when people say to me, God, I'm so depressed. I'm down on my own. I'm in my apartment. You made me feel so much better. Yeah, because I know what's happening in 3 or 6 months. I've been through adversity. I've been through HIV. I've been through Ebola. I've been through the stock market crash. I've been through it all. This is just another one of those adversities. The sad thing is the people who lose their loved ones. The sad thing is people dying. That's not good. That's really bad for anybody.
Yeah, it's
My
funny.
sister-in-law was sick. We were hurting for 2 weeks.
And it's interesting that now suddenly people are talking about people that are dying, and yet every year people are dying regardless of corona or not, and no one talks about those people. And to me, it's like, it's interesting how people are so heavily affected by the media. I mean, when I was in residency and we were dealing with trauma, I mean, we had like teenagers dying. I had to go to the parents and tell them your 18-year-old or 17-year-old unfortunately didn't make it. But you know, there's deaths. I mean, I think the sheer number of people that die just of motor vehicle accidents every year. I mean, we're talking about millions. No one talks about those people. And
because it's not on the news. On the news, they're not going to hear it. Now they're hearing everything about COVID.
It's because same old, and corona is new. So I just don't, I don't want to diminish the fact that a lot of people are dying, because that's a fact. A lot of people are dying, but a lot of people are dying every day of poverty, of starvation. And in 2020, no one on this planet should die of starvation. And so we have really such big problems, but people are in their lives every day. They don't necessarily see people starving in Africa or starving here, homeless people starving here in America. No one talks about them. And now all of a sudden, everybody is like really talking about corona here, corona there. You know, hopefully, I hope that this raises people's awareness of what's going on in this world in general. As far as death, as far as other problems, makes them more aware and more sensitive to other people's problems, especially, especially since now they feel they can be affected.
It's definitely going to be a change in our lifestyle. This is a sociology. It's like a sociology project.
It is.
People get sick. People are going to die. It's a tough thing. So there will be change. We're going to have to change the way we look at each other, how we treat each other. It's a reset. It's a reset button. I've always said at some point in our life, there should be a reset button. I've talked about this to my friends. It's a big joke with my close friends, because about 15 years ago, I said, can't we just all start from zero? Can we just start from zero, all of us? Everybody start from zero. And it kind of feels like that now, you know? It's like we're all starting from scratch. The idea is to find somebody who cares about you, help you get through this time, be positive about it. There's too much negativity out there. You can't focus on the negativity. Reach out to your loved ones. It's the time
100%.
to say thank you. It's the time to say I care about you. And thank God for these Zoom meetings. I know Zoom was around 5 years ago. Nobody even knew about it. We used it very much longer time. That's why you have that AIC Wall Street thing. We use Zoom, but now it's popular. Thank God for that. Thank God for this media. What a wonderful time to be sharing our thoughts and sharing our
funny. It's funny how before all this pandemic, people were demonizing social media. People were demonizing technology, saying, you know, now the entire world is on social media. I mean, talking about, you know, that's what human beings love. They either put something on a pedestal or demonize something. And then all of a sudden,
well, one thing I've always said to everybody, technology, social media technology, computer technology, digital technology, it's all how you use it. It could be for the wonderful benefits of humankind, and it could be for the destructive of humankind. So any good thing can be used badly. Mm-hmm. Again, for me, my glass is always a quarter full. You know, it's not even half full. It's a quarter full. I'm happy I got a quarter. So I'm just that positive energy. Yeah. I don't know where it comes from. Don't ask me where it comes. People ask me, where do you get all this energy from? Can you imagine me at 26 years old?
Well, it's called passion.
I was out of my mind.
That brings me to the next question. If you could talk to your, which age, where should I go back to? If you could talk to your 18-year-old self, to 18-year-old
please.
What would you tell him?
You idiot.
What advice would you give him?
What are you doing? You're wasting your time. I was doing so many stupid things.
If you could sit in a time machine, I'm saying if you could sit in a time machine, go back in time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
I would probably, I have 4 kids. Most of you know I have 4 children. One's 21. She just turned 21. Right. Nick's 20. My other daughter's 16. My other son is 13. My 20-year-old son, my 21, I keep talking to them. You know, can you imagine being their father? I'm constantly putting stuff in their heads, and they're like, all right, stop, leave me alone. So what I would tell myself, I would take the $10,000 that I wasted between drugs and cars and stupid things, take that $10,000 then and buy an apartment in Manhattan. That's number one. That was a big mistake that I wasted money.
Oh, my God.
Number two, I would have told them, sit down and study so that I could go into an Ivy League school. But then again, it worked out the right way. But I would have been more dedicated where I was not dedicated at all. I mean, people say, oh, my God, you're so smart. My smartness came like from 25 to like 40. Yeah. I was not smart in high school. I was not smart in college. And dental school is really where I thrived. So I think those are the 2 things I would tell.
You bring up a good point, and I want to comment on that, because we judge intelligence or smartness, if there's such a word, in different ways. Because the way we judged intelligence or smartness, if there's such a word, 30 years ago is different than how we judge it this year, correct?
Yes.
I mean, today it's more about creativity. I mean, you told me that back then your teachers were constantly frustrated with you because you just wanted to do your own thing. You just didn't want to go by the rules. And back then, and still today in a lot of schools, but back then even more so, everything was rigid. Everything had a strict rule. And if you deviated from that rule, you were immediately outcasted and you were immediately labeled. And I had problems too back then in school. Thankfully today, it's still not as it should be, but it's more flexible. They give our children more of a chance to develop their creative mind. And, you know, we pay too much attention. I went to an Ivy League school. I was 2 years at Harvard. And to me, it's not really where you went, whether you went to an Ivy League or didn't go to. It's about who you are and who you become utilizing the tools that you're given. It doesn't matter where you get them.
But my children right now are very, very much into whose college you went to and why you're going to this college. It's become a really bad thing. Education.
Yeah, but that's judgment. So human beings love to judge. They love to judge. They love putting things on the pedestal. To me, it's just this great
No, I don't
advertising
agree with
and
it.
marketing machine. It's this
Yeah.
great advertising and marketing machine of schools that is, and I'm sorry, a lot of these degrees that people are getting, they're worthless. Now, there's a lot of great school that giving you great education, but there are very few. And, the amount of money that our children are being charged for just
it's
getting
insanity.
education that is
Terrible.
completely worthless,
Terrible.
that doesn't really
Terrible.
actually cultivate their creativity is horrendous. And so,
It's terrible.
and that's why, again, going back to the question, I'm going to insist on it. What would you tell your 18-year-old self if you went back in time, sitting in a time machine? What would you tell them other than, hey, don't waste your money and don't do this? What advice could you give him to teach him a principle to be successful no matter what he does in life?
Well, I think the key component, well, again, I'm doing that with my kids now. The biggest thing today, remember back then it was like you're becoming a doctor. That was a good thing. It was very impressive. You're becoming a dentist. It was very impressive. Becoming a lawyer. That was a big thing. In today's world, I think it's a different world. So we can't apply the principles of today back then. It doesn't make sense. But for my children, I say to them, listen, I don't care what you do, but you better find something that you really like, right? You got to find something you like. You can't just go become a lawyer. I'm telling you to become a doctor and that doesn't work anymore. You got to find something you like. You will be successful. 100%. I'm successful because I love what I do.
Yep.
So the advice is very different today than it was back then. And that's why a lot of people were very unhappy. People became dentists because they couldn't become a doctor because their parents were telling them to become a doctor and they didn't make it. So they became dentists and then they were really miserable. So that was the worst thing to do. That we know that over the last 30 years. There's people that miserably failed.
It's still today. That's what's going on. And a lot of societies even worse than here. I come, my origins are in Iran and Persian families. I mean, there's 3 professions. The third one is actually not even considered as such, which is being an engineer. But the number 1 and 2 is you either got to be a doctor, you either got to become a doctor or an attorney. And then if you don't achieve those, maybe an engineer. But in a lot of society, that's still how people judge. And these children, these teenagers understand they're evolving their creativity. They're put under this immense pressure of the society to make their parents happy. Everything they're doing is about making their parents happy.
No, we don't have that. Yeah. We have really good discussions about this is not my life. This is your life. I 100% will support.
That's the best advice. That's
100% support what you love. I'm with you 100%, but give me a reason why you're doing this. Show me that you're going to improve. Show me that you really like it. You can't just go do it because you're just saying you're going to do it.
Love it.
So we hold them accountable for their actions, but we make them sure that they're on the right path. Again, I'm doing this with dentists. I'm definitely going to do it with my children. I got to get them on the right path, whatever that path is. Out of my 4 children, one want to be a dentist. I did not force anybody to be a dentist. That's the last thing I wanted them to do is to force them. Whereas the old generation would have forced them to be in the business. So again, that's a big evolution of who we are.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of young people are forced to choose a profession that they don't like just because it sounds good to them or their parents, and then they end up being miserable, wasting thousands of dollars on tuition, and then eventually become maybe an average or subpar professional in whatever profession they are in, and then eventually dropping it and doing something else, and then regretting not having become a musician or an artist. I mean, I remember, when I was a kid, if you wanted to become a musician, people would like frown upon you. They were like, "What do you mean? Why don't you why don't you choose a real profession?"
I used to play in a band, right?
I didn't. So me too, by the way. We got to jam together. What did you used to play?
Electric bass. Bass. So I played in a band called Armored Partner. A lot of my friends, the band members are still around. We still talk, and we had a lot of fun. And we were dedicated. Talk about dedication. We were dedicated. We would practice 4 nights a week.
Wow.
And our most amazing, we did a lot of gigs. We were doing like small gigs. But the most impressive one was in 1984, right before dental school. I'm sorry, 1982. We opened up for Twisted Sister in the Queens nightclub.
No kidding.
We opened up for Twisted Sister. We were the opening band for Twisted Sister, and we were a Rush tribute band. That's
amazing. I didn't know that about you. See, I learned something new about you.
Yeah, I played bass like Geddy Lee. I had the round glasses. I had long hair, and we can play those Rush tunes like to the T. We were really tight. We were very, very talented.
Do you still play or do jam sessions?
Oh,
yeah.
100%. 100%.
Awesome.
We sing, we dance, we do a lot of, my son plays piano. So yeah, we still jam out.
That's fantastic.
That's my private time. I got to show that to you.
How about publicly in a hidden bar in New York City, in a basement somewhere, where you go like a hole in the wall, you go down and you're like, gosh, I think I know this guy. That's Dean. What is he doing here?
We do that. We don't want to talk about that. We do that. I can't tell you where it is. It's very, very rare, but it does happen. Do not tell anybody. It's a secret.
All right, but you need to tell me now. Let me know.
But,
you need to tell me.
So I'll tell you a story about that, because we were jamming. My guitar player calls me up. He says, "You got to come down. We're playing with some guys tonight." So of course I go down, and we have our set. So we know we're going to play 3 or 4 songs. So I get up there. We play the 3 or 4 songs. I get off the stage. We're talking about 12 midnight down in Bleecker Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get off the stage.
You gave it away.
Oh, I didn't tell you exactly where it is, but I get off the stage. And one of my patients comes from the bar.
No shit.
Says, I swear to God. He goes, "Dr. D, what are you doing? What are you doing here?" I go,
"Don't quit your day job."
My guitar. No, we played good. He was very impressed. He's like, "I didn't know you could play." Nice. So, yeah, it does happen every now and then. I get caught every now and then.
So who's your favorite musician? Who did you idolize growing up?
Well, I that's a very tough question. That's like, who's your favorite kid?
Other than Roger Waters.
In terms of rock and roll, obviously Geddy Lee is my favorite bass player of all time.
Nice.
But in terms of original guitar players, not steel guitar, not electric guitar, but one of the most talented, extraordinary guitar players in the world who's still alive. His name is Al Di Meola. Do you know who that is?
Of course I know Al Di Meola.
Okay, so Al Di Meola to me is the most amazing guitar, because he doesn't play great. He plays great, but he doesn't just play great. He's a composer. He's a Paul McCartney, Leonard Bernstein composer of music. Okay. The crazy thing is, I started playing flamenco guitar, Elegant Gypsy, in 1973 when it came out. Okay, and I played Elegant Gypsy in my guitar. Nice. Which made me understand how to play bass.
Nice.
But here's the crazy part, Daria. I'm going to reveal something today, even though it's not HIPAA compliant.
It's all right.
Doc, Mr. Al Di Meola is my patient.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Do you know why my favorite album is Friday Night in San Francisco with Paco de Lucia, Al Di Meola,
and John McLaughlin.
And John McLaughlin. That's my favorite album.
What if I get you that album